What if the man of your dream had a secret that could destroy everything? Today's story follows a wealthy billionaire who believes love is nothing more than a game. To him, relationships are temporary, emotions are optional, and every new romance is simply another exciting adventure. He has everything money can buy, yet he has never experienced genuine love. On the other hand, there's Judith, a smart, hardworking girl who has completely lost faith in romance. After a series of disappointing relationships, she decides that chasing love only leads to heartbreak. Instead, she focuses on her career, her independence, and the freedom she feels every time she rides her motorcycle. Like every other morning, Judith arrives at work ready for another busy day. The moment she walks into the office, her strict manager, Monica, piles a mountain of work onto her desk. While everyone else finishes on time, Judith spends hours perfecting an important project. As evening falls, Monica invites her out for dinner, but Judith politely refuses. She wants to complete the project before heading home. Eventually, the office becomes almost empty, and after several more hours of work, she finally finishes. She places the completed project on Monica's desk and walks toward the parking lot, exhausted but satisfied. That's when she accidentally witnesses something she never expected. Hidden behind a parked car, Monica is sharing an intimate moment with one of the company's employees, Miguel. Judith freezes. Seeing a manager secretly involved with her own employee leaves her shocked and uncomfortable. Not wanting to interrupt, she quietly walks away. Although she reaches home safely, the image stays in her mind all night, making it difficult for her to sleep. The next morning begins like any other, but fate has something unexpected waiting for her. Judith steps into the office elevator just before the doors close. Several employees are already inside, but one by one they leave until only Judith and a tall, confident stranger remain. There is something mysterious about him. Before either of them can say much, the lights suddenly go out. The elevator comes to a complete stop. Judith immediately grows nervous. She has always disliked enclosed spaces, and being trapped inside a silent elevator only makes her anxiety worse. As the silence grows, he gently steps closer and softly kisses her on the cheek. Overwhelmed by the moment, she loses her hesitation, and they begin sharing a few affectionate kisses. Then, just as quickly, the electricity returns. The elevator starts moving again as if nothing had happened. When the doors finally open, Judith is still trying to process everything. But another surprise is waiting outside. Monica immediately approaches the stranger with great respect and addresses him as boss. Only then does Judith realize the handsome man isn't just another employee. He is Eric, the new owner of the entire company. After the recent passing of his father, Eric has inherited the family business and now controls every department. Judith suddenly feels embarrassed, remembering everything that happened inside the elevator only moments ago. Monica introduces them properly before leading Eric into a meeting to review Judith's presentation. Judith quietly returns to her desk, hoping the project she spent all night completing will finally be appreciated. Instead, only a few minutes later, Monica calls her into the office. Without saying much, Monica drops the presentation straight into the trash. She explains that Eric wasn't impressed and wants the entire project redesigned before the next day. Judith can't believe it. Every hour of hard work has just been thrown away. Frustrated but determined to prove herself, she sits back down at her desk and starts again from the beginning. Late that night, while the rest of the office is almost empty, Judith finally finishes the new version. As she prepares to leave, she once again hears familiar voices echoing through the hallway. Curious, she looks around the corner and discovers Monica and Miguel together again, convinced no one else is still in the building. Before Judith can quietly walk away, another voice suddenly speaks behind her. Enjoying the show? She turns around and finds Eric standing behind her. Before she can leave, Eric casually asks if she's in such a hurry. He thanks her for redoing the presentation overnight and admits that her second version is much better. Then, without warning, he gently unties her hair, saying that she looks far more beautiful when she lets it down. Judith is caught off guard. No one has ever spoken to her like that before. Trying to stay professional, she steps back and reminds him that he is her boss. Eric simply smiles and invites her to dinner the following evening. She refuses immediately. Eric doesn't argue. He simply says, "I'll ask again tomorrow." The next morning, morning, Judith is relaxing at home with her pet cat when the doorbell rings. To her surprise, Eric is standing outside with a relaxed smile, asking if she has changed her mind. Judith tells him once again that this relationship would only create problems at work. Eric politely accepts her answer and begins walking back toward his car. But just as he's about to leave, Judith calls out his name. She doesn't know why. She agrees to dinner. Excited, Eric waits patiently outside while Judith spends nearly an hour deciding what to wear. After trying on countless outfits, she finally steps outside. Eric opens the passenger door like a gentleman. His luxury sports car immediately catches Judith's attention. She jokes that she's always dreamed of driving a car like this. Eric laughs and says, "This car has a lot of power. Are you sure you can handle it?" Without missing a beat, Judith smiles. "I don't just handle challenges. I enjoy them." The playful conversation continues throughout the drive until they arrive at one of the city's finest restaurants. Dinner begins comfortably. Instead of talking about work, they discuss travel, music, favorite foods, and childhood memories. Judith discovers that beneath Eric's confident personality is someone surprisingly intelligent and adventurous. Eric orders several dishes for them to share. Normally, Judith dislikes when other people choose her food, but every dish turns out to be delicious. For the first time in years, she genuinely enjoys spending time with someone. As the evening grows quieter, Eric leans closer. Their eyes meet. Neither of them says a word. Then Eric gently kisses her. This time, Judith doesn't pull away. For a few beautiful seconds, everything feels perfect. But Eric suddenly notices another couple nearby and casually makes a strange comment about how fascinating it is to watch different relationships. The mood instantly changes. Judith feels uncomfortable. She expected a romantic evening, not another one of Eric's unusual ideas. Without creating a scene, she quietly stands up, thanks him for dinner, and returns home alone. That night, she can't stop thinking about him. Part of her is attracted to Eric's confidence. Another part warns her that he may be too unpredictable to trust. The following day, Eric refuses to give up. Instead of another expensive dinner, he offers something much simpler. A road trip, he says. No meetings, no office, no pressure. Judith hesitates, but finally agrees. This time, Eric hands her the keys to his sports car and tells her to drive. She can't believe he trusts her with such an expensive vehicle. Soon they're racing along beautiful coastal roads, laughing, teasing each other, and stopping at small cafes and scenic viewpoints. For the first time, Judith begins seeing the real Eric, not just the wealthy businessman everyone admires, but the lonely man hiding behind the confidence. As the sun begins to set, Eric takes her to his breathtaking mansion. Judith can't hide her amazement. Eric smiles mysteriously. "What if we played a little trust game?" He explains that it's simply a way of testing honesty, confidence, and trust between two people. Although she isn't completely comfortable, Judith agrees, believing it's only meant to be playful. At first, everything feels harmless. They laugh, joke, and enjoy the evening together. But later, Eric shows her a video recorded during the game. At first, Judith smiles. Then her smile disappears. In the background, she briefly notices another woman entering the room. Eric quickly explains that nothing inappropriate happened and that the woman is one of his closest friends who is helping with the surprise. But Judith doesn't want explanations. She feels betrayed that he involved someone else without asking for her permission. Furious, she calls Eric an immature rich kid who thinks money allows him to do whatever he wants. Without giving him another chance to explain, she storms out of the mansion. Back home, anger slowly turns into disappointment. She had started believing Eric might actually be different. The next morning, Judith arrives at work determined to keep things strictly professional and forget everything that happened the previous night. A few hours later, Monica calls her into the conference room. Eric is already waiting. He explains that the company has secured an important international project and wants Judith to accompany him on a business trip to Barcelona. But Judith refuses without hesitation. She leaves the office and heads home. However, as soon as she opens the front door, her beloved cat is lying weakly on the floor. Panicked, Judith rushes her to the nearest veterinary hospital. The doctors do everything they can, but despite their efforts, they are unable to save her. She had lost relationships before. As she sits outside the clinic in tears, someone quietly walks toward her. It's Eric. He doesn't try to explain himself. He doesn't apologize. Seeing how broken Judith is, Eric gently hugs her, allowing her to cry without saying a single sentence. For the first time, Judith sees a different side of him, not the confident billionaire, just a man who genuinely cares about someone else's pain. That night, Eric stays with her to make sure she isn't alone. The following morning, he He surprises her by preparing breakfast himself. It's far from perfect. The toast is slightly burned, and the coffee is stronger than it should be, but the effort means more to Judith than any expensive gift ever could. Slowly, the wall around her heart begins to crack. Eric once again asks her to join him in Barcelona. This time, Judith agrees, but only under one condition. This is a business trip, she says firmly. No games, no flirting, no crossing professional boundaries. Eric smiles and accepts every condition without arguing. Soon, they board a flight to Barcelona. For Judith, the city feels magical. When they arrive at the luxury hotel, Judith is amazed by her room. The next morning, the real work begins. As Judith walks toward the meeting room, she notices Eric stepping out of another suite alongside his personal assistant, Amanda. The two appear unusually close. Although nothing inappropriate is happening, Judith can't stop herself from feeling jealous. After all, they never officially defined their relationship. Throughout the business meeting, Eric repeatedly sends Judith short text messages asking if she's alright. She deliberately ignores every single one. Finally, Eric pauses the meeting and politely asks everyone except Judith to leave the room for a few minutes. As soon as they're alone, he walks over to her. "What did I do this time?" he asks with a smile. "I thought we came here for work, but you seem more interested in spending time with Amanda." Eric laughs softly. "You really are jealous." "I'm not. You are." Before she can respond, Eric gently takes her hand. He explains that Amanda has been helping prepare the presentations and that there's nothing personal between them. The tension between them slowly disappears. For a brief moment, they forget every promise they made before coming to Spain. After the successful meeting, Eric takes Judith to one of Barcelona's most elegant rooftop restaurants. The city lights stretch endlessly beneath them. The atmosphere is calm, romantic, and completely different from their first dinner together. Eric apologizes once again for the mistakes he made in the past. This time, he promises that everything will happen only if Judith is comfortable with it. His sincerity surprises her. The evening becomes one of the happiest moments they've shared. For the first time, Judith begins imagining a future where she and Eric might actually belong together. But happiness doesn't last long. The following morning, Eric behaves like a completely different person. Avoiding eye contact, he calmly tells Judith that the client loved the presentation and that Amanda will handle the remaining work. He suggests Judith take a few days off before returning home. Judith is stunned. Just hours ago, everything seemed perfect. Now Eric is acting as if nothing between them ever happened. Without arguing, she quietly packs her luggage and flies back home. She spends time with her father and the rest of her family, trying to distract herself from the painful memories. Friends encourage her to move on. One evening, she attends a party, hoping a change of scenery will help. There she meets a friendly young man who spends the evening talking with her. For the first time since returning from Spain, Judith manages to smile again. Maybe it's finally time to leave Eric behind. But fate has other plans. The very next morning, a familiar luxury car pulls into the driveway. Eric has found her. He steps out of the car looking exhausted. Judith has no intention of listening. She tells him that he changes his feelings as easily as changing clothes and that she's tired of being hurt. Eric listens quietly before saying something she never expected. "I wasn't afraid of losing you. I was afraid of falling in love with you." Those words leave Judith completely speechless. Eric finally tells Judith the truth. For years, he had lived without ever allowing anyone to get too close. Judith listens silently. After a long silence, Eric makes one final request. "I'm not asking you to forgive me today," he says. "Just give me one last chance to prove that I've changed." Judith looks into his eyes. For the first time since they met, she doesn't see the arrogant billionaire everyone admires. She decides to give him one final opportunity. Over the following weeks, their relationship slowly begins to heal. This time, Eric makes a real effort to communicate honestly. Wanting to clear away the last of her doubts, Eric introduces her to his closest friends. Among them is Frida and her boyfriend, Andres, the woman Judith briefly saw in the mysterious video from months earlier. Although Judith still wishes Eric had been honest from the beginning, she finally realizes that she misunderstood what she had seen. One evening, the four friends attend an exclusive party hosted by one of Eric's wealthy business partners. The luxurious mansion is filled with music, elegant decorations, and influential guests from around the world. The group laughs, shares stories, and enjoys the celebration. But the happiness doesn't last. The next morning, Judith wakes up and discovers that Eric has disappeared once again. His phone is switched off, no messages. Even Frida and Andres have no idea where he went. Old fears immediately return. Judith can't understand understand why Eric keeps repeating the same mistake. Days pass without hearing from him. Instead of waiting, she throws herself into work. She begins exercising regularly and eventually befriends a cheerful woman at the gym named Rebecca. The two quickly become close friends. Around the same time, Judith receives wonderful news at the office. Thanks to her dedication and outstanding performance, she earns a promotion to the company's finance department. For the first time in months, her life begins moving forward without depending on Eric. She tells herself that no matter what happens next, she will never lose herself for another relationship again. Just when everything finally feels stable, Eric unexpectedly returns. He apologizes repeatedly and explains that he had traveled to Germany to deal with urgent family matters after receiving unexpected news. The trip gave him time to reflect on his life. He tells Judith that she has become the most important person in his life. Although she remains cautious, Judith notices something different in his voice. There is no arrogance, no games, only honesty. Slowly, they begin rebuilding their relationship one final time. Weeks later, Judith decides to surprise Eric. Remembering how he once enjoyed unexpected games and playful challenges, she blindfolds him as part of a harmless prank. To make the surprise more entertaining, she secretly invites her new gym friend Rebecca to join them. Judith expects Eric to laugh. Instead, the moment he removes the blindfold, all the color drains from his face. Without saying a single word, he turns around and walks out. Completely confused, Judith asks Rebecca what just happened. Rebecca takes a deep breath before revealing a shocking secret. She isn't just Judith's gym friend. She is Eric's former girlfriend. Judith stands frozen. She suddenly realizes why Eric reacted the way he did. She quietly makes the hardest decision of her life. She resigns from Eric's company. She packs her belongings, says goodbye to the people she cares about, and returns to her family. For the first time, her future is completely in her own hands. Eric may have loved her. Judith may have loved him too. But love without honesty can never survive. Some relationships don't end because two people stop loving each other. They end because trust disappears one secret at a time. In the end, Judith chooses something she had been searching for all along. Not luxury. She chooses peace. She chooses self-respect. And most importantly, she chooses herself. That brings this emotional story to an end. A reminder that real love isn't built on grand gestures or expensive gifts. It's built on honesty, trust, and the courage to be completely truthful with the person you love. Don't forget to like the video, leave a comment below, and must subscribe the channel for more real breakdown.